Welcome to Business Half Hour on Classic FM 97.3, station that plays every song you know. Brought to you in collaboration with Nairametrics Nigeria. I am Ifeanyi Atama. I have Uwa here with me this morning. Good morning, Uwa.
Good morning, Ifeanyi. Great to be on the show again today. I'm sure you guys missed me last week. This is Business Half Hour, brought to you by Nairametrics in partnership with Classic 97.3 FM. And we have a special guest today who will be talking to us about the fourth industrial revolution. Maybe I'll hand back to you so that you can just give us a brief of our guest, and then she can take it up from there.
Okay. Her name is Gbemi Abudu. She's the founder and managing partner of BMGA Enterprise Limited, that's BMGA. A finishing school for the fourth industrial revolution. She's a marketing expert and impact architect who's passionate about the sustainable political, social, and economic development of Africa, particularly in the area of gender equity and education. Good morning, Gbemi.
Good morning, Ifeanyi. Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Good to have you. So tell us, what exactly is BMGA?
What is BMGA? So like you stated, BMGA is a finishing school for the fourth industrial revolution. And what does that mean when you say that? We're focused on equipping people with skills that would remain relevant when things become automated. I mean, like we're discussing earlier, when you talk about the fourth industrial revolution, people are constantly thinking, oh, we're talking about AI, we're talking about things being automated. And the question is, what skills remain relevant even when things are automated? Right? You're looking at the future of works, and the future of works is actually currently now. So for BMGA, what we do is we focus on soft skills. And when you say soft skills, generally people would ask that, what do you mean by soft skills when you say soft skills? We're talking about skills, a combination of people skills, social skills, communication skills, character and personality traits, attitudes, social intelligence, emotional intelligence. These are all things that are very relevant and complement hard skills in the workplace. And for us, we're focused on ensuring that employers, different organizations, that their employees have all these required skills that optimizes their performance in the workplace. In addition to that, so we have what we do for corporates. In addition to that, we look at for university students. You typically have a skills mismatch from the skills university students display, fresh university graduates display in the workplace. So how do we ensure that they have the relevant skills that employers are looking for? So that's pretty much what BMGA is. But what makes BMGA slightly different, because people will say, okay, is this just another training school? What makes us different in our approach to learning, I should say to training, is that we're rooted in the science of learning and behavior. And what do I mean by that? We spend some time really understanding how the human brain gathers and retains and recalls information, because we realize that part of what we're trying to do is you're trying to change people's mindset and you're trying to change people's behavior. So it was very important for us to understand from an anthropological standpoint, how do you change people's behavior, and to really understand how do you impact people? Because at the end of the day, what we're saying is that we've noticed a skills gap that exists with university students, fresh university graduates, and with some professionals. So how do you change that behavior? How do you ensure that whatever you're teaching them, whatever they're learning from BMGA, that it becomes applicable to their everyday life? So that's pretty much BMGA in a nutshell. What does BMGA stand for? Because I know I get that question all the time.
Exactly.
BMGA stands for Brand Manager Gbemi Abudu. And the reason why I chose that name for our company is my career up until starting BMGA, I've been a custodian of many global brands. I've worked as an international marketer. So from whether it's your Louis Vuitton to Anapjet, which was my most recent job before I started my company, to Polo Luxury, to consulting with the country Jordan, White & Case, Disney, Clorox. So I've spent a lot of time really understanding marketing, like how do brand stewardship. So for me, it was like I wanted to start a company that gave me the opportunity to focus, to take all my interests under one umbrella. And brand manager, it's like, I mean, whether now it's investing in human capital, and investing in human capital, you're teaching them, you're helping people become marketable in the workplace. So it's still being a brand manager.
Yeah. Solid.
So what inspired BMGA?
What inspired? So there are two things. I always say there are two.
What was the inspiration behind BMGA?
There were two things that inspired me, actually, if I have to be very honest. I moved back to Nigeria in 2014, and I mean, I was really excited about moving back home. But one thing that became obvious to me very quickly, and I saw it before starting BMGA, is your average Nigerian professional is very smart, very intuitive. But I always found that they were sort of rough around the edges, right? And when you say rough around the edges, you're wondering, what do you mean, rough around the edges? Like I was telling a story earlier, when I first moved here, I spent the first 4.5 years on my Saturdays, I would volunteer at an orphanage in Oniru. And in 2018, the founder of the orphanage had said, why don't we spend the first quarter teaching the kids good manners, right? So I put a curriculum together to try to figure out, how do you teach these kids, how do you instill good manners in them from a very young age? And one of the Saturday mornings when I was lecturing, teaching the kids about please and thank you, how to be assertive, how to always ask why. When somebody tells you something and you're not sure of, don't be afraid to speak up and ask why. There was somebody who was visiting the orphanage and she was walking by and she said, I know a lot of adults that don't have the skills that you're teaching kids. And it was sort of a haha moment for me, because I realized that rough around the edges I was saying, there's a certain level of working in the luxury industry. I mean, my career and the level of refinement that is required when you're delivering customer service, the way you speak, the way you present yourself, your communication skills, being assertive, how you can serve somebody without being subservient. It was then I realized that that's what, when I say rough around the edges with your average Nigerian professional, that was what was missing, the lack of soft skills. So that inspired me to say, and I had several people who had reached out to me because of the different work that I did, saying, can you come and lecture or hold a workshop in our company about how people can be more assertive, how people can deliver better customer service, opportunity here, and how do you help people develop soft skills?
How old is
so that was the inspiration for me, and that's what inspired me, saying I wanted this to be my contribution. Sorry, can you ask that question again? I didn't hear you.
How old is BMGA now?
BMGA is 1 year and 7 months old.
Oh, so it's only just started in 2019?
Yeah, 1 year and 7 months old. I mean, that's the official capacity of when physically as an entity, but in terms of the work,
I think we're having a challenge here.
In terms of the work, in terms of the research, it's been ongoing for a while.
I think it's a network connection. We're kind of having a challenge with Gbemi's audio. These things happen.
You having a challenge hearing me?
It's better now.
It's getting better now. I guess it's better now.
Better.
Okay, better? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it's better now.
Okay.
So you going into this, providing some form of learning and development for people for employees and employers, and trying to find the right skill set. Do you think you have the right competition in the industry today, locally or foreign competition that would challenge you? And how do you see the impact of competition on BMGA in the next maybe couple of years, just considering the fact that it's just 1 year and 7 months?
Hello, Gbemi.
Gbemi, did you hear me?
So when people always ask about competition, I always find that to be a very interesting question. I find that we spent, can you hear me? Yes, yeah, I heard you. Can you hear me? I heard you.
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Go on, we can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello?
If I can hear
I can
her.
hear you fine. I can hear you guys okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
We can hear you. Go
So
on.
I said when people always say competition, when people say competition, okay. So when people, no problem, I can hear you. Okay. So when people say competition, I always find that to be a very interesting question, because the truth is, I've sort of always operated in focusing what
You're breaking again.
meet their needs, right? I always say that effectively, that's all that matters. Competition, I don't know what's going on here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Wow.
Go on.
Okay. So one thing I always say is, like, if you go to the grocery store, how many brands do you see for bread in the grocery store? There are several options of bread, right? There's room for everybody to play in any given market. The question is, what separates your bread, your brand of bread, from the next? It depends on how you develop an emotional connection with your customer base and how you meet their needs. So when people talk about competitors, I really don't focus that much on that, because I see it as complementary. I really do. And it's more so me focusing on what am I delivering for our customers. So I'll give you an example. We just wrapped up for 2020. Our objective for 2020 was to launch a social impact initiative focused exclusively on young women in Nigeria. And when I say young women, we looked at university students in their final year and university students who just graduated from university. And the whole objective of the program was to help them develop skills that will make them successful for the fourth industrial revolution. And that means we equip them with high-level soft skill classes, training. We gave them life skills. We provided mentorship at a very, very high level. People will ask me that, are there others doing the same thing? I would say, you know what? There are different components of it in different places. You have universities doing some, you have trainers who are doing some. Well, at the end of the day, it's the way we put things together and presented it to our students is what has set us apart. So like I mentioned earlier, with this program that we launched, the whole idea is we wanted the participants of the program to really experience a full transformation. It's called the BMGA Fellows Program. It was a 6-month program from May to November. They just graduated Friday last week. And the whole idea of the program is we had different learning components. So we had where they had live lectures on Zoom, like what we're doing right now, for them to learn what it's like to interact in businesses, for them to learn to be assertive. They come to class every day knowing that they could be called upon, so they have to think quick on their feet. The other element of the program, we had several learning components. The other learning component of the program was we developed an e-learning platform, and that was to help them hone their ICT literacy skills, so that by the time they get to the workplace, the basic softwares that you require in the workplace, like Microsoft Office, they're familiar to using that already. We offered classes like business etiquette, emotional intelligence. We partnered with Yale University, Yale Center of Emotional Intelligence, to deliver the emotional intelligence class. We had a class to what, so I think Ifeanyi had mentioned this earlier. We partnered with Thunderbird School of Global Management for the global communication class. And in this class, all the participants of the program were paired with students from different parts of the world for them to learn how to work with individuals from different parts. So they had partners from Afghanistan, from Geneva, from California. Then we had what we called the peer-to-peer learning. And with the peer-to-peer learning part of the program, we partnered with Cambridge University. Every participant of the program was paired with a graduate student at Cambridge as their mentor. So for them to have somebody who's already been through the path they're going through and paved the way for them. We also had what we called the Champions of Africa's lecture series. And what that was for us to shed a spotlight on women who have paved the way for the rights a lot of these participants benefit today. And what I mean by that is, if you want people to feel a responsibility to say that I need to play a role to shift the needle for the next generation, it's important for them to understand the history of the women who paved the way for them. Then also discussing issues that affect African women, such as colorism, the issue of natural hair, because when you're saying you want women to be confident in the workplace, you want somebody to show up to be assertive, you have to deal with some of the issues that can create insecurity. Then finally, another component of the program, there are 2 other things that I will highlight, then I will kind of pass the mic back to you. We had what we call the BMGA Leadership Speaker Series, which is a podcast now. And one of the when we did research in the beginning of the program, we learned that it's one thing to equip people with skills. It's another to give them the opportunity to be inspired by individuals who have gone ahead of them, individuals who they want to be like. So what we did was we had 2 global leaders come to speak to the participant every month. So we had people like Masai Ujiri, the president of the Toronto Raptors. We had Mo Abudu, the CEO of Ebony Life. We had people like Acha Leke, the chairman of McKinsey. They all came to speak to the participants, and the participant asked them questions about their career journey. You know what that does? It's one thing for you to tell me that, oh, Gbemi, you can be great. It's another for me to see someone like a Mo Abudu.
Gbemi, okay, now yes. we understand that these programs are enriching and interesting and are going to develop a lot of the next generation of people. But one of the things that is important for us to know is it costs money. How have you been able to fund this business, and how are you looking to raise more funds in the nearest future towards ensuring that this business can go on, and how can other people learn from how you've experienced some funding in terms of putting this in place?
I love that question. and the reason why I say I love that question is for the for-profit side of the business, generally what it's been self-funded for now. And self-funding was very intentional because I always say that before you go around and presenting your business idea to investors, I always want to have an MVP to show them that where you show them that this is exactly what we're trying to do, and sort of you've developed some traction. For the social impact initiative, to be honest with you, the plan was to have a lot of corporate sponsors. And we had several corporations who had signed up and said, fantastic, this is a great idea, we want to be a big part of it. Then the wonderful COVID-19 started in March, and all our majority of our corporate sponsors who were supposed to give us monetary support pulled out. So at that point, the question was, were we going to go forward with the program or not? We decided to do so. So that was, we had donors who gave us money to help us with the program, but it was heavily subsidized by BMGA. So what we're trying to do now is we are trying to fundraise, because now that we've proven the concept and we have evidence to show this is what we've done, show you the final product of the transformation students that have gone through our program have experienced, it makes it easier for us to make a case for raising money. So what we're doing right now is we're having conversations with angel investors, we're having conversations with VCs to try to raise money to ensure that the different programs we intend to roll out for Q1 next year and the continued expansion of the BMGA Fellows program can happen next year. When you say that, how can others learn from fundraising? Honestly, one thing I always say is, excuse me?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, but we need to go on a short break in the next 30 seconds.
Let her just land. Once you land on this,
we'll
go on.
Okay. So when you say how can others learn from in terms of fundraising, one thing I always say with fundraising that tends to be instrumental is developing relationships. Constantly developing relationships with people that when you finally need their help, it's very easy for you to pick up the phone and say, I need help. Then because of you've established credibility as someone of excellence, that even when you don't have the direct relationship to a VC, people who know your work and who know your integrity are willing to pick up the phone and make that phone call for you. So for me, that's what I'm finding is very instrumental and has been very helpful in trying to raise funds for our business.
All right, Gbemi.
Okay, fine, Paul, is your call.
All right, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk more. Come, let's live together. It is still Business Half Hour here on Classic FM 97.3, station that plays every song you know, in collaboration with Nairametrics. My name is Ifeanyi Tama, who are here with me. Plus, we have Gbemi Abudu, who's an expert and impact architect, also the founder and managing partner of BMGA Enterprise. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you, Ifeanyi. Thanks for the break. And it was great listening to the great music from Classic 97.3. And Gbemi, you've spoken so much about the skill sets needed for the fourth industrial revolution. So let's come back to your organization as a whole. So we know that people are the most important assets of any business. So what would you say your current staff strength will be like, and how do you ensure that you are recruiting the right kind of skill sets, considering the fact that you're also trying to develop people with the right skill sets for the fourth industrial revolution?
That's a fantastic question. I always say that all my employees are products of what we say we're selling, right? Of what we are, because truthfully, I've been very intentional that majority of the individuals who are brought on board full time are fresh university graduates, and equipping them with these skills. They go through this in-house training as well. The same thing that we offer our corporate clients is what our employees go through as well. So for us, we have a combination of full-time employees because we run a very lean operation. So we have a combination of full-time employees and contractors that we work with. So it's been very, I don't want to use the word challenging, it's actually been very interesting because I've been very fortunate in my career to have the opportunity to work with individuals that I've seen how they've been able to transform others. So taking the learnings from that and the learnings that the BMGA methodology of training, we use the same exact thing for our staff as well. So it really hasn't been a challenge. There's that learning curve when someone first joins BMGA that the first 5 months, they're spending a lot of time earning their communication skills because they have to be good at verbal communication and written communication. They have to, in terms of emotional intelligence, ensure that they develop high EQ. So they go through this training as well. And the truth of the matter is I always see the transformation very quickly. And what we do is that, for example, with the work we do with the university students, like the program that just concluded in Friday last week, we're going to take some of those students as well to become BMGA staff members. So it literally is, like I said, it's we have to be being able to hire our own products as well.
Also, looking at the program and what has happened in 2020 with the pandemic that has hit the whole world, how challenging has it been for a business like yours that's just a year and 7 months in terms of getting out the message and actually providing the right kind of service for those who require it?
So it's a very interesting question when people ask us about the impact of the pandemic for us. We happen to be one of those businesses that, based on what our goal was for 2020, the pandemic worked in our favor, as crazy as it sounds. It worked in our favor because our focus for 2020 was the deployment of this BMGA Fellows Program, this social impact initiative. And initially the plan was for it to be an online blended program, which means a combination of online and in-person. But the moment the pandemic hit, we basically switched it to a 100% online program, which worked quite well in our favor because our plan for the program, it was supposed to be 80% online. So it really worked well for us because we focused exclusively on university students. And because of the pandemic, most people were home. So they were able to give their full attention and work towards this very, very intense program because the program is actually quite intense. So from that delivery of service, it worked well in our favor. Like everybody else financially, I always say that finances is not a matrix used for 2020 at all for most organizations. It's just the truth. So financially, yes, it had its own negative impact on us like it did on everybody else. But in terms of the delivery of service and brand positioning, it worked well in our favor. We just found a way to adapt. And I think it's worth pointing out when you ask that question too, that it's learning how to be adaptable. Right? And one of the things of being adaptable, recently we had an author called Dr. Christian Bush on our podcast. He wrote a book called The Serendipity Mindset. And the serendipity mindset is having the ability to be able to identify opportunities in uncertainties and in unexpected events. And being able to develop that mindset, it's sort of one of the things that we did as well, is that we looked at what COVID presented and said, how can we adapt and modify our business model very quickly to ensure that we're able to survive and stay relevant during the pandemic. And that's exactly what we did. So it worked. Were there
any other peculiar type of challenges that your business face or you see facing in the near future because of the new normal that has been brought about by the pandemic?
I think the challenges that we're facing and we're probably going to face is that majority of our programs continue to have to be delivered virtual. The idea of doing the in-person meetings that we've done in the past, the in-person trainings we've done in the past for corporations, I anticipate that we're going to see less and less of that most of our clients will continue to focus on just having us deliver programs for them virtually, which is not a bad thing. I mean, I like the in-person meeting. I like the in-person interaction where you get a chance to sort of feel people versus where it's just 100% online. But that's where softwares like Zoom have come in handy, where you and I can have this conversation. You're getting a feel of who I am, of my personality, and I'm getting to get a sense of yours as well. So we're finding ways to sort of adapt to that. So I would probably say that's the biggest challenge in the new normal. And the reality is everyone just have to find a way to adapt to it, because this is what life is going to be like for some time.
Fine, back to you.
Unfortunately, time is not our friend here on this program, Gbemi. But before we let you go, what guiding quote? What quote guides you every day when you go out about your normal business?
So there are two. I can't give you just one. I have to give you two. So I have a personal mantra that I live by. So my personal mantra that I live by for myself is, I always say, to live a rich and fulfilling life that pleases God while impacting the world around me. So that means that I need to live a rich and fulfilling life, and that means being able to enjoy every opportunity, enjoy what life presents to me, but at the same time making sure that I impact the world around me. And when you say a quote that impacts the way I live, I always say, to whom, and this is from the Bible, where it says, to whom much is given, much is required. It's for every single one of us who have been put in positions where you're blessed and you've had the opportunity. We're all blessed in respective ways. You have to pay it forward. You have to ensure that you play your role to shift the needle for the next generation.
I like that. To whom much is given, much is expected.
Yeah, to whom much is given, much is expected. This is in Business Alpha, brought to you by Nairametrics in partnership with Classic 97.3 FM. With Ifeanyi on the other side. Ifeanyi, great to talk to you again. Gbemi, it's been a pleasure having you on BHH, and we look forward to talking to you some other time, maybe in person, and it's another conversation outside BHH. Ifeanyi, thanks for having us, and it's been a pleasure being here. My name is Wade, and back to you, Ifeanyi.